Hey everybody, failed entrepreneur here. Make crappy videos every day, so make sure you subscribe so you can argue with me. And today is actually Memorial Day, the day that we honor and remember fallen soldiers and Marines and sailors and airmen, service members who literally gave everything with their service so that we could enjoy the freedom and the safety and the security and the opportunities that we have here today. And just one day doesn't seem enough. A simple thank you doesn't seem enough. Showing the flag just doesn't seem enough, in my opinion, to show the amount of gratitude and the debt that we owe to these people. I never served in the military. It's one of the bigger regrets in my life. But again, to those who did and those who never came back, thank you. It seems so shallow, and it never seems enough to show and appreciate how much that means and how grateful I am. In a weird way, even though it's Memorial Day, I mean, let's be honest, most of us are going to be grilling and swimming and barbecuing and going out to the park. We'll be watching baseball if that was going on, but Corona canceled that, right? But in a weird way, doing that is kind of the best way to honor and remember what these people did. They gave their lives so you would have those chances and opportunities to go out and swim today and enjoy the family. So I guess what I'm trying to say is today, if you see this video, go out and live it up and have fun and enjoy the day. But when you bite into that hot dog, right, or when you cannonball into the deep end, take a second and reflect and just remember the reason you're able to do this is because these people who lost their lives fighting overseas is giving you the chance to screw around and goof off and have a fun day. So be appreciative. Put a little extra relish on that hot dog. Make a really big splash when you jump into the pool. But just remember what they gave so that you could do something as silly as that, and kind of how powerful that is. And live this day. Enjoy those freedoms they aren't able to anymore. I think that's probably, as long as you're kind of remembering and honoring that, I think that probably is the best way to remember their service, is go out, like I said, and enjoy those freedoms that we all have. That's what they were fighting for. That's what they lost their lives for. Speaking of Memorial Day, go off on a little side tangent here. Since we are talking about, again, soldiers who never made it back home, I thought it'd be interesting to maybe talk quickly on a lot of soldiers overseas who still need to come back home right now. Service members deployed in Afghanistan. The war in Afghanistan, which is still going on today, it's not in the news, it's not on the front page, doesn't mean it didn't stop. The war in Afghanistan is the longest war in American history. Let that sink in for a minute. We've had some long wars in our country, right? Longer than the American Revolution, longer than the Philippine-American War. That was a couple of years. Longer than Vietnam. Vietnam was, I guess, the record holder for a while, but it hasn't been since 2015, 2016, or maybe even less. The war in Afghanistan started in 2001. And it's still going on today in 2020. That's about, 19 years we've been fighting this conflict in Afghanistan. And there seems to be little end in sight. They don't call Afghanistan the graveyard of empires for no reason. And it's a difficult situation. Like a lot of current conflicts, it's turned into one of those regime change wars that Tulsi was talking about during the Democratic primary that she was very much against. These never-ending zombie wars. I can't even say it's a war of attrition because it's not like there's that much fighting going on. It's just a war of occupation, right? Let's rewind real quick. 2001, 9/11. Very quickly in the days afterwards, if you didn't know who he was, you learned real fast who Osama bin Laden was. This guy from Saudi Arabia with a turban and long beard was hiding in a country called Afghanistan, where this attack was planned and kind of carried out. It was their headquarters. can't allow that to happen. So very quickly, I think in October, so just in like 30 days, we launched an invasion of Afghanistan to find and eradicate and root out the Taliban so they could never launch an attack like this again. Afghanistan was a little challenging compared to recent military conflicts because the United States had very little military presence in that region. Afghanistan is landlocked and pretty far away from the coast. America has a huge naval power, so we're able to project that power to most areas on the globe pretty easily. But places like Afghanistan, not so easily. And so that was hard because there were no really friendly allies nearby. There were no huge military bases nearby with a force already deployed. So we had to hurriedly rush everything over. And in the beginning, a lot of assaults were just launched from aircraft carriers we had floating in the Indian Ocean nearby. We kind of turned those into like mobile bases to launch this attack from. It was very ad hoc, very, very kind of plan as you go invasion. But it's the Taliban. Their resilience, I'll give them that, but that's really all they are. And so those initial conflicts, and again, like many recent wars, the initial stages went, I don't want to say easily, but quickly. We were able to push into the country to find some of those strongholds, total air power, so just bomb them into submission and have the Taliban on their heels, running and retreating into the northern parts of the country or into Pakistan, it seems, that porous border the two countries share. But the initial stages went, again, fairly, I want to say easily. Afghanistan's a very difficult place to fight. Very little infrastructure, very remote, very high elevation. A lot of helicopters, even had trouble operating in the high altitudes there. It was probably the most difficult place you could imagine fighting in. But to our credit, we were able, like I said, to put the Taliban on their heels and push them back pretty quickly. The hard part, though, is keeping that change, right? To train up the Afghanistan army and get the government propped up so that they could take care of it on their own. And obviously, since we're still there, that's just something they ain't ever been able to do. There's too much corruption, there's too much weakness, too much opposition, and this is what we've seen many times in the recent past is these governments that we go out and try and prop up and support are just too ineffectual and weak to really police themselves, to take care of themselves, and they become dependent on American power to kind of support their legitimacy. So it's a weird situation where we want to leave, but if we do, there's a fear the whole thing could crumble in on itself and we would just have to either come back and fight this war all over again, or it would create more conditions that, which is the reason we went in there in the first place, to get rid of terrorism and get rid of these bases. So it's a rock and a hard place. We don't want to be there, obviously, but if we leave, Afghanistan, even after 20 years, is just not strong enough to fight this fight on their own, despite all the money and chances and resources we're pumping into that country. It's just too difficult, which might explain what's going on now, is that to try and end this unending war, Trump has actually tried to sit down and negotiate a peace treaty with the Taliban, which just seems weird to think about and even to say, but that's what we're doing. And I knew there had been talks before that had broken down, but apparently before I made the video, I just want to go and check up on things. I guess we do have the loose outline of a treaty with the Taliban since February 2020. So there is a tentative peace deal on the table where the United States would agree to draw down its forces a little bit. The Taliban would agree to stop using Afghanistan as a base for terrorism towards the United States. They would agree to stop attacking the Afghan government. Basically, the Taliban would be on their best behavior, not to cause trouble anymore as far as our concerns are related. And the United States would try and slowly pull troops out of there and see if we can't end this war. Will that happen? It's hard to tell. If the Taliban was to launch any, I don't know how much strong control they have over their forces there, but if anyone was to launch an attack or whatever it was, that could take this latest agreement and just tear it into shreds. I know Trump was talking earlier about doing something, but some recent attacks from the Taliban had shelved those talks. I thought that was still the case, but it seems like we still have an agreement with them, and that's a positive sign if we can take them at their word and if they're really sick and tired of fighting as we are. We've been there 20 years. What's to say we're not there another 20? That's a very scary thing. But I think both sides can agree we don't want that to go on. So we will see if the longest war in American history comes to an end anytime soon. But just something I wanted to bring up today because it is Memorial Day. Most Americans probably, like I said, don't even know this war is still going on. But if you know someone who's deployed over there, of course you know. But it's just not front page headline news, and that's not fair. I think it should be. We should still remember what's going on. Should not take those people over there for granted. And it's a sad chapter in American history, and it's a book apparently with no end. We're just writing new pages every day, but that's depressing. It is Memorial Day. Go out there, enjoy it. Remember the people who gave everything for those freedoms, and hopefully we can end this war in Afghanistan and bring those service members back home soon and just put this all behind us going forward. All right, that was it. Failed Entrepreneur, thanks for watching. That took a long time to make. This is a 12-minute video. This is probably the 12th time I've tried to shoot this one. It's not as easy as I make it look, which is not good at all. All right, I got things to do. I need to. I'll catch you later. Bye.